Welcome. Thanks for attending today's webinar, Improving Sales and Customer Experience with Computer Vision. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few items regarding the platform. At the bottom of your screen, you'll notice a handful of widgets, mainly Q&A, which you can use to submit any questions you have throughout today's session. For viewing purposes, you can also expand your viewing window by clicking on the icon found in the top right corner of each slide viewer. If you have technical difficulties, please click on the Help widget. And lastly, take a moment to fill out the survey at the end of the webinar. Thank you. At this time, I'll turn it over to your presenters, Amal and Ilya.
Awesome. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking time out of your busy lives and work schedules to join our webinar here today on computer vision and how we can improve sales and customer experience, and even look at inventory management in different ways that we're hoping that this technology can benefit your company. As we get started today, we'll just do a quick intros and then we'll go through the agenda. My name is Ilya Eliashevsky. I'm the portfolio manager for digital innovation here at Insight. And that means I get to work with some really smart people across our data and AI team, our cloud team, our intelligent edge, and folks like Amal. So Amal, why don't you introduce yourself? And Amal's muted, so...
I am muted. I am so sorry about that. My name is Amal Asgaonkar. I'm the CTO for Intelligent Edge. In my job profile, I'm basically responsible for operationalizing all of the solutions that we build for our customers and operationalize those at scale, which means completely build a solution and deliver it end-to-end, including the hardware, the software, the cloud services, as well as support and maintenance, so that we make sure that the solution is up and running.
Awesome. And actually that mute is just to kind of make sure we know this is a live recording, and we don't want to fool anybody. So moving along, what we're going to do today, and we'll hope to take probably about 45 minutes out of your lives to an hour. It'll all depend on any questions that you might have. But the things we want to cover are a little bit about ourselves, and computer vision and where we see the market going in this space. We'll then review some real-world examples, so some example client projects where we've deployed this into a few retail clients. We'll break down a demo. So Amal has kind of miniaturized a demo so we can kind of show the pieces in action and all the different components on the hardware side, the software side, and then really the business outcomes and how we can kind of tie those things together. And then we'll do lessons learned. So we've deployed several computer vision models and solutions to all sorts of different industries, but with a focus on retail here today, and some lessons learned. Every location's different, every setup's different, so things to keep a lookout for or keep in mind if this is something that makes sense for your organization. And then we'll wrap up today with ways that you can get started. So as part of my job as managing our portfolio of solutions, we're trying to help enable clients like yourselves to get started and where to begin, or if you're already on a journey and you have computer vision and you're trying to look to extend that, what type of different offers can we help you with to assist in your efforts and really drive towards the business outcomes that your company is desiring. Along the way, feel free to drop the questions as mentioned into the chat. We'll try to pick them up towards the end or during the webinar itself. And if we don't get to answering your questions here today, we'll also follow up and make sure to kind of answer any of those questions offline. So I'll pass this to you, Amal. And why don't you just tell us what computer vision is?
So just to define what computer vision in very simple terms, it's using cameras to do what humans do, in the sense anytime there is a repeatable task that humans are doing, computer vision is a great fit for that. We can try and automate those actions. It's not, we are getting there. So in terms of accuracy, in terms of operationalizing, there are great strides being made in computer vision. But essentially, think of computer vision as using cameras to do the tasks that humans would do in an automated fashion.
Okay, and that'll just set the foundation for what we're going to review in different ways. But just at the most basic form, how do we apply intelligence to cameras and help you run more efficiently? And then, but before we do that, what we've seen, and just again, layer in a little bit of background, is we've been working with several clients in many different ways and deploying different cameras and ML models and working with different teams, some that are building the models themselves, which we'll get into, or where we've assisted in that, or how do we deploy these devices out into the field. So for us at Insight, this was just an area where we're interested because it's really cool, and we'll show some of these examples, things that you can do today. But we also wanted to take a step back and say, is this just our cutting edge clients coming to us to do, early adopting, or is this really, something that's becoming more and more standard? So we commissioned a report through IDG recently, just to level set and see, what is the market saying around these technology trends. And some of the results, as you can see on the screen, is obviously enterprises are deploying AI, so 60% of them, and they're looking to increase their investment. So that's a positive sign. I'm sure many of you guys are in that same boat, and you're trying to figure out where do we spend our time and our attention and our budgets to kind of improve how we're running our business. And then more specifically, 90% of them, which is really high, of the out of a couple hundred IT professionals and stakeholders that were commissioned for this report, 90% of them said that they're actually looking into computer vision itself. So it is an area of high interest to many organizations because there's so many different ways that it can be applied today. And they can help grow revenue, so there's ways to increase sales through the data that's coming off the cameras, as well as ways to save time and money for their organization. So you can just kind of run more efficiently or better handle your inventory. So we'll dive into that in a second. And as we've approached this, a common pattern that we've seen, and then this kind of third-party study also reinforces, is oftentimes our clients need a partner because there's so many different components involved, whether you're procuring the hardware, which camera is the right model for my situation, which edge gateway is the right one, what cloud technologies should we be utilizing. And you really need a one-stop shop and a partner that can help pull that all together. And that's really where Insight plays a great role in understanding your business outcomes and then tailoring solutions for you. But then also procuring hardware, helping with the architecture, helping with the deployment, and even managing those services once deployed. So, we didn't want to just take our gut and say, hey, we're doing all this stuff, we should double down here. But really, there is a huge momentum in the industry today, and we're excited about that opportunity, and we hope that you are as well. In regards to some just other quick, fast facts, and I won't layer you with just market research and facts, but I think part of the reason why this is such a growing industry and focus for consumers is because, as Amal mentioned, camera technology is getting to rates where it's 99% accurate. There's always going to be a margin of error, but whether you're deploying a lower cost camera into a facility or something that's discrete or a really high-end, sophisticated, very precise camera or industrial grade camera or whatever makes sense for the solutions that you're selling, the technology is getting to a point where it's at different price points, but it's really accurate and it's reliable. If you look at use cases and just at a high level, there's real value that can be driven here. So, every retailer has both customers that are coming through as well as employees, how you keep them safe, how do you prevent accidents? And there's a real bottom line savings if you can deploy cameras and help, make sure that people are doing their job safely. Will result in preventing some of the injuries that happen in a retail space or reduce shrinkage. Again, shrinkage in retail is a huge issue, and even though you might go from 1 or 2%, 7 out of 10 retailers are reporting that shrinkage is a big issue. And if we can just use a camera to kind of make sure that you're maximizing your inventory and preventing theft internally or externally, or even just the bad actors, that can have a real improvement on your bottom line. So it's not all doom and gloom type of scenarios, but there's real value here across the board of where we can help your organizations achieve different business outcomes and improve their bottom lines. So as we go, we are trying to make this a little interactive for the attendees on the call. If you don't mind taking a couple polls along the way and let us know what's on your mind. We'll take a minute here, and then we'll see how people are registering their votes. And the first one is, how are your organizations using or considering to use computer vision? We know you all signed up to attend this webinar and you're at different phases, but if you let us know where you are on that journey, we can try to help adapt our talk track along the way, and then even follow up to kind of meet you on that path. So I'll let this sit for a second. All right, and maybe we should have some party music during these polls, or do some Jeopardy music. But hopefully it doesn't take too much time. And it looks like about 50% of you are using it. Some are considering in early phases, and some have no plans to evaluate, which is unique considering the topic, but that'll help guide us. Okay. So I think I'm having a hard time coming out of, I don't know if the technical support team's on call, but I'm saying to refresh. I might have to refresh real quick to see where we are on this. Amal?
Yep, till then I can, so let's talk about a few of the success stories that we've had, some use cases, and we can start with what are the type of use cases retail, would have, right? Inventory management. The one thing that cameras can, or computer vision can help you do is, if you already have cameras installed, or we can leverage those cameras, but we can install more cameras to understand and detect what type of product you have on shelves, right? So a simple example would be, if you go in any store, you do have cameras on the top, right? And if the angle is right, and if they're pointing towards the shelves, we can actually use that feed to understand what product you have on the shelves. And if you're running low, we can notify the store manager to say, hey, this type of product is running low. You need to restock it if you have that product in the back of the store. Or once you understand that maybe certain products are running low, you can actually notify or change the displays to recommend other products, right? So a recommendation engine could be put in place to say, if you're buying this, or if you're running out of this, there's a similar product that you can go and buy, which is, as good as what you were trying to buy. Or if you're buying, let's say, pasta, and you want to recommend a certain wine that goes with it, you can do that. So changing the displays for the user, so the customer experience changes as well. Faster checkout. This is something that always fascinates me, that when you go into a store and you're trying to check out, and there's a huge queue, and you're waiting for the checkout line to move forward, but there are 4 other checkout counters that nobody's there, and probably that's because nobody knows that there's a huge line at checkout counter 1. But if you look up, there's a camera on each of those checkout counters. So we could use actually those cameras to detect how many people are there in the queue, and then notify the store manager or notify someone to say, hey, go open up a new counter because the line is getting long, right? And so without somebody saying, hey, please, open up a new counter, there's a huge line, there are 20 people in this line, it's too slow, it would just be intuitive. You would get a notification, somebody could go and open a counter, and people will start, getting distributed across those counters as well. So in general, there are so many use cases in retail. These are just, 2 of them, leveraging existing cameras, but just product shrinkage, right? Having those cameras and looking down at the checkout and saying, okay, integrating with the point of sale system to understand what was scanned and what is the actual product in the cart. Right? Did somebody scan a dollar, for a gum, but they actually put a huge, $150 carpet in the cart? Like, there's something missing there, right? So it's all of those use cases can actually be solved by using computer vision. Most of them can be used, can use the leveraging cameras that you already might have. The security and surveillance, right? Whether it's outside the store or inside the store, curbside pickup, understanding if the cars that are coming in, are they already parked in the parking lot, and you want to then deliver that order to that car if they have registered the license plate, and you do LPR, license plate recognition, and you actually go and deliver. All of those use cases can be enabled using computer vision here. Ilya, I see you're back.
Yep, and I think part of that same message. One, no one likes waiting in lines, right? Like that's just the world's least favorite thing to do. So anything you can do to improve them. But at the same time, we understand that retailers are, faced with new issues, and that, it's hiring the right amount of people and staffing, and they're trying to squeeze every dollar. So, oftentimes many employees are wearing many hats. They have to go and look in the back for something, and they can't ring up another person. So the more efficiently we can help those people and notify people when someone's waiting, when you're multitasking. I think computer vision can help us kind of be a new party that's sitting at the table and always online and always available. I just know from my own experiences, if you're shopping and you're looking to maybe try on some clothes, and you're looking for a register and you're often looking around, you start getting annoyed. But if we can kind of detect those type of scenarios and notify someone, hey, someone's at this point in location and looks like they're needing help, and you can be more proactive, then you improve the customer experience along the way. And then as a result, these people are going to check out versus, not being able to find that assistance at times, and maybe, put the product back on the shelves or just, leave the store. So it's really tying all these components together. And we know that the business models are changing. So a lot of people are shopping online and then going to the store to check out or to pick up their merchandise. So we really have to shift, how we're delivering products and selling products. And then the more you can, improve that experience, because there's only so many parking spots in a parking lot, and we can detect that and be quicker. So again, not making people wait for the products they purchase. It'll help them kind of become more loyal and repeat customers, because they can get it today. They can order online, they can go to the store, they can grab it and go, and it doesn't take up much of their time. So diving a little bit more deeply, what we did is we cherry-picked a few client stories of recent projects that we've done, just to get the ideas flowing, focusing a little bit more on just inventory management. This is a problem that everybody's facing in the retail space. It's very manual, time-consuming. How do we stock shelves? How do we, what do we do in our warehouses? So I'll just quickly run through a few slides here, explaining what we've done for a couple of clients. And then we'll hand it over to Amal to do a demo and show you the technology at work. So the first one is we worked with a large global beverage manufacturer. They were trying to figure out ways to improve how they restock inventory at different retail locations. And you're talking about thousands of stores and lots of different products. And often that process takes hours. So Insight worked with them to develop a vision model. They were deployed on smartphones. And then the models that we deployed could do inventory management with 95% accuracy. But what the experience would be is you developed a mobile application in combination with these models, and you could actually just take a picture of the shelves, and it would go and see what's out of stock as well as even what's in stock, and count how many of those different types of beverages were in the display. And in putting it in a phone, automatically all that data gets uploaded into the cloud, so you can do better business insights regionally and seasonally and across multiple locations. But it reduced the time it took to actually do the inventory management from, what typically took hours to go, case by case and shelf by shelf, to literally minutes, where you just take a picture and the phone can do all that logic for you and still be almost as accurate, if not more accurate, than what a human would do. So that then frees up time for that same employee who is doing inventory management, or the distributor that was actually, distributing the products to these stores and restocking it and going out to the trucks and pulling the right products in. It frees them up because it's saving them the time to now focus on other conversations to drive sales. So now you can say, hey, this one's out of stock, and you can take some of the saved time and have a conversation about, why do we think this is selling? Can we promote this better? Can we move it here and do things to actually increase sales versus just doing what Amal mentioned is some of these tedious tasks that are repetitive and just took a lot of time historically based on humans versus technology. If you look at the same client and you kind of shift out of the retail experience of doing inventory where the consumers are going and buying the products, and now you think about, hey, you're this global beverage manufacturer, you want to get the bottles on the shelves or the beverages on the shelves, but you have huge warehouses that have all this inventory and it needs to go to all these different locations. And how do you reduce the shrinkage and make sure that you're using the oldest product first and maximizing, so there's no waste. So we actually worked to develop similar computer vision models done with different technology, and we mounted cameras to drones. I mean, most drones kind of have cameras, but we equipped them in the right way. And the drones would then fly throughout these large warehouses to do the product counting and the inventory management. And it's using computer vision in a different way, where this is actually doing optical character recognition to read labels, not only identify products and what boxes are which products, but it could read labels, it could understand which ones were going to expire soon and tie that all together and do it through large facilities where, again, that was often a labor-intensive activity. And the business outcome of this is, again, higher inventory accuracy, lower shrinkage. So you're now using your best products first, and you can track things that were sometimes typically hard to access or maybe even unsafe for people to get on, the ladders and the cranes to kind of do this. And you can improve, there's a 3% improvement in labor productivity. So we're just using technology to do what historically takes a lot of time, but the right technology for the right place.
Right, and just to add to that, Ilya, I think it's just cycle counting is a labor-intensive, time-intensive task. To be able to automate that so that you can actually get an accurate count more frequently. So you can do it daily if you want to. You can do it once a week, but it's then in your hands versus asking your teammate, your employee to actually go and do that, which would take hours. And now you can just do it whenever you want, and then take that data and reconcile that data with your ERP system to understand if there is a mismatch in your data systems there.
Yeah, and it ties nicely into this story too. So it seems like this can be applied. These stories might be in warehouses or at the site, but it's the same technology can be applied in many different ways, and often just trying to track, do that cycle counting. So here's another global manufacturer, different types of products. They were doing those cycle counts, as Amal just mentioned, bi-monthly. And that's across the US, 60 locations, 18 different countries. So this is just how do we track, where our inventory is, what needs to be shipped here and there. And again, we deployed a computer vision model to identify the products. It was a proprietary algorithm because everyone's boxes and crates and pallets are a little bit different, they're tagged differently. This was then integrated with their existing ERP system. So you could do a validation against the data that the computer vision and the tablets were collecting and compare it against your existing inventory. And what was cool about this product, and it's a showcase, is not just our cloud and our data and AI capabilities, but we built a modern application that ran on tablets. And the customer wanted to make sure that this application could work for employees of all types, even some with disabilities. So it was very accessible to everybody, so that anybody of any level could help in this task. And then they could increase their hiring force to be more inclusive. So again, the model itself would be up to 93% accurate to do this. We were able to deploy this in 6 months, getting something just tested and built to a full production deployment across 8 of their US warehouses. So that's relatively a short amount of time from the idea to actual implementation and business benefits. And then interestingly, this solution, because it is kind of a rinse and repeat motion, as the client was looking at, hey, maybe this is something where they could license the technology and the setup to other businesses to benefit from, because it's all built and then it just needs to be fine-tuned, which is very interesting. We're starting to see that more and more where, someone might build a solution for themselves, but then they can take that technology and license it to others, to kind of help them improve their business and operations, because we're kind of all in this together. Although, yes, we compete in some places, at the same time, we want the retail industry to flourish and people to kind of maximize their efficiencies. So I think it's just another cool example of how to really be inclusive and think not just of my business needs, but how do we, maximize our employee, what our employees can do for helping our bottom lines. And then the last story that I'll talk upon, and then we'll switch it over to Amal, is this is a partner story. Since this webinar is sponsored by Microsoft and our friends there, and we do a lot of projects with Microsoft. We've been with them for a major retailer in the grocery industry, and they deployed cameras that were very sophisticated into the ceiling. So they mounted them on the ceiling rather than a drone or a tablet or a smartphone app. And they would monitor and use computer vision to see if product was in stock, if it was running low, and then trigger the appropriate alerts to kind of go and fill the shelves back up. And the reason I like this story is because it seems so simple and logical, but typically people are
So I think we might have lost Ilya there. Ilya, can you hear us okay? So till then, I can continue on the story.
Walking around the retail floor.
Oh, there you go. So on this partner story, I'll quickly just cover the story, and we can move on to the next one. Essentially, the cameras that were installed on the ceiling were looking at the products, and just like the use case I spoke about, one of the use cases, you can actually take a look at the products and understand what products you have, how many of those you have in stock on the shelf. And then if you are running out of those, you can actually then notify the store manager, replace them, and then also use a recommendation engine so that you can, recommend better products or different products if you're running low on a certain product, right? So that it's essentially you're making sure that the customer gets what they want. And if you don't have a certain product, then you can always recommend a different product, but to make sure that when the customer leaves, they leave happy and they have a product that, that they wanted. Right.
Okay.
Ilya, are you back?
I am back. Sorry, I'm not sure what's happening there. So I apologize. But I think that wraps it up, right? So we're really trying to figure out how do we make sure that it's in stock so your customers are finding it and happy because they've taken their time to go to the store to purchase something that they likely saw an ad for. It's saving you on the labor cost to kind of keep the shelves, and it's just a great kind of example. So Mal, why don't you walk through the different components involved in computer vision and how this all plays together with the cloud and the edge.
Yeah, before we do that, I believe we do have a poll in there as well. So let's see, if you can take a minute to answer the poll, that'd be great. Which use cases for computer vision are you most interested in? Is it automating cycle counts or optimizing inventory, increasing sales revenue, ensuring physical security of buildings and or assets, improving or delivering new customer experiences, and or something else? I mean, there are so many use cases with computer vision and edge that it's impossible to list all of them, but these are a few of them that we've seen our customers ask for, and we've built solutions around these. But if there's anything else, would love to hear about those as well. Let's take a minute, and then we can look at how everybody else is planning on using this. All right. Let's see how people have responded. All right, 100% are saying improving and delivering new customer experiences. And that is no surprise. It's essentially making the customer happy and building that loyalty towards a brand, towards your store, towards your experience is of real importance for the customers. So what I'll do is I will go through the different components of the demo, and then we'll actually play a video where I'm actually showing you how that works. So, in a store, you have your shelves, you have a cart, you have a customer, right? And what we want to do is you've got your products on the shelves, and you might have, usually, you'll have the same products on a certain section of the store. So what we do is we actually install cameras that's taking a look at the shelves. And here the angle is important. The lighting is important to understand the right, how much exposure we have from the shelf perspective and how much of that product is actually seen. So that angle and the height at which the camera is installed is important. And what it does is we have an edge gateway or a compute essentially, right? It could be an Intel, i5, i7 Xeon. Based on the number of cameras, you might need an additional graphics card, or you might not. And there are different ways of operationalizing those as well. But we do have an edge gateway that's sitting in store that is connected to all of these cameras and is taking in the feeds. And that is where the computer vision AI model is running. It takes the feed frame by frame, runs it through the AI model, and is constantly inferencing how many products of a certain type are there. And you're getting almost like an inventory count, right? And you can then put in thresholds that'll be evaluated at the gateway to say, if a certain product goes below X, let me know, right? Which is important. That is the key data point that we are interested in. Once we have that data, that key data point, we can actually send it to the cloud so that different people can take a look at the data and make different decisions. For example, the store manager might take a look at the data and say, hey, I need someone to go and restock this shelf because we are running low on pasta, we're running low on cola, or whatever the product might be, right? So the cloud is important from a scale point of view, and it's important from managing the workload that's being executed on the gateway itself. So the cloud is really important from an operationalization perspective, as well as visualizations and providing those business insights. The edge gateway is important to reduce the latency and enable the employees who are in the store to quickly respond to certain events. And then we have, like I said, different personas who will be using that portal in the cloud to make different decisions. So if it is, what are the different personas, right? So you would have somebody from IT taking a look at the same portal and saying, okay, I need to deploy different AI models, maybe a different version of the AI model in this location, but not that location, right? So those decisions and that possibility is done or is enabled for the IT folks. Operations might be taking a look at it and thinking, well, I'm like a store manager, right? He might be somewhere else, some other part of the store. He might be responsible for multiple stores. But having that information at hand to understand that, something's running low on this store, and in addition to that store manager, somebody else also has been notified, but just keeping a track of it, right? Has it been restocked? Did somebody actually go in and take that action that you have to go and restock? And that feedback is also important to make a decision. Do I need to pick up the phone and call someone? Hey, go ahead and do that right now. right? Business strategy to understand which products are flying off the shelf. Where are the, where are the customers actually at the store? Where do they go first? Why do they go there? What products are on that shelf? Understanding their needs and requirements so that you can better, lay out your products or tie it back into inventory and say, okay, we need to stock more of this product because in this season, in this store, in this location, most of these types of products actually are sold faster, right? And sales and support, all of those, marketing, all of those teams can actually take a look at that data and make different decisions. And so that's why that data is so important, because everybody has a different task and an objective, and they can actually move forward because of having that data at hand. Now, if you look at the different use cases, right, we've spoken about these use cases a lot before as well, but just to cover, it's line detection or queue detection, store heat mapping. I just spoke about, which products are flying off the shelf. Why are they there? When you place a certain product there, is it the location in that store that people gravitate towards, or is it the product that people are gravitating towards? So if you move the product to some other location, will actually people move there, right? And if they are going to that new location, how are they going to that location? Or do they have to go through 3 aisles and they might actually pick up more products because they saw something they needed? Or do they actually end up directly at that, right? Making it easy versus making the customer go through multiple aisles. Intent analysis.
Mal, just to layer into that, is you can almost, you can reuse a lot of the same equipment. So you get started with one use case, right? Once you install the cameras, the edge, and you kind of have the cloud framework, not only can you expand that, but you can kind of maximize your investment from the first batch. Is that correct?
Right, exactly. And so there are other use cases here as well, right? And it's using the same gateway. You can add on these use cases, like Ilya mentioned. It's not that you need one gateway for one use case and now you've got another use case, so you need another gateway and another camera. Nope, that is not how that would work. You would have one gateway, and then the framework that we build, or the solutions like these, allow you to add on more use cases in the same infrastructure you have, and then visualize that data in the cloud. And so it might even light up other personas in your organization to start using that system to make better business decisions.
Right. So oftentimes we kind of recommend to clients like, hey, let's start here. Let's prove some value. Let's take the highest value use case and then extend out, right? But then you loop in other stakeholders. But you're going to have to get things up and running, and then once it's up and running, it's easy to kind of expand out.
Absolutely. And this slide just essentially talks to that in terms of extending your use cases, extending that same solution across locations. So once you've built it for one use case, one location, you can then take that same pattern and stamp it out to other locations. Installing the cameras, having the edge gateway, deploying that workload in there using that same application that's running in the cloud. And if you want to build in new use cases, it just becomes easier because your video ingestion components are already in place. What you might have to build is the AI model for that use case. Or at that point, you might not have a computer vision AI model, but you might have a different model, or an anomaly detection algorithm, or a recommendation engine that's running at the gateway. But it's the same pattern, which is essentially the value proposition here is you stamp it out, make sure that your pipeline, your base foundation is in place, and then you can add more use cases to it. So we have another poll here. And we'll be happy if you can spend a minute just quickly answering these questions. I'll go through the options. The question is, do you currently have any cameras deployed within your stores? Yes, installed within the last 5 years. And that option is there to understand how old the cameras are, because the older the cameras are, the integration possibilities go down because they might not be supporting a certain protocol. The frames per second might be lower, or the resolution might be lower. So the second option is yes, but most are older than 5 years, which means that you might have to replace some of those cameras based on the use case. No, you don't have any cameras, and not applicable. Maybe computer vision is not the use case that's on your mind. So I think there's enough time for everybody to click one option here. So I'm going to go ahead and check what the results are. Oop, nobody else responded. So that's okay. We'll move forward from there. And I think it's demo time. So I'm just going to quickly set up what that demo looks like. What are we looking at is the same use case we spoke about, and in terms of explaining the different components of computer vision. And here I'll just quickly explain. We have the in-store screens on a shelf, and we've got a couple of products on there. And on the right-hand side on the screen, you see the portal where you can actually see the results. On the top of the shelves, you have that small edge compute device that is actually running the AI model that detects what product is on the shelf. So different demo elements. One is on the hardware side, you've got the shelf, you've got a product. You've got the camera inside the shelf, but that's just for the demo. Usually the cameras are outside, maybe hanging from the ceiling down. We have an edge device that runs all the analytics, right? So not everything is sent to the cloud. That would take a lot of bandwidth. So everything runs on the edge. And we've got the in-store screens that are actually installed on the shelf itself. From a software, we have the application that's running in the cloud that gives you the dashboards, onboarding of those devices securely, the product counting, anomaly detection, alert management, user management, and then the workload management. And by that we mean how do we deploy all the containers down at the edge, and how do we manage those? And at the edge, we have the video ingestion container, we have the AI model execution, and then the anomaly detection as well. All right. So I'm going to skip this one and move directly into the video itself.
Hi, my name is Amol Asgaonkar. I'm the CTO for Intelligent Edge at Insight, a Fortune 500 global systems integrator and leading provider of intelligent technology solutions. Welcome to the demo of computer vision. Today, I'll be using a scale model to give you an inside look at how computer vision works and how it can be applied to deliver value in a retail environment. To get a sense of how video analytics and real-time alerts come together in a retail environment, we will be taking an example of soda bottles stacked on a display shelf. So let's take a look at the setup we have here. We have two 24-inch in-store displays that are daisy-chained. We have an edge device that is doing all the heavy lifting. So it is going to take all the video feeds from the cameras that you have installed, like the example of this one right here, the Intel RealSense camera that is being used in this demo. Analyze that video footage, run the AI model, and provide the inferences. So let's take a look at what really happens here. So when I take this product off this shelf, this was the last one. Now here you can see that the content changed. It's telling the customer that there are 40 in stock in the warehouse, and then the store manager has been notified. And it also suggests what alternative drink you could have while you're shopping. Now here you can see that it immediately popped up. It sent a notification to the manager saying, hey, you're out of stock for cola in aisle 35, shelf 4 in Chandler. And now when you go back and restock it, right? So this was feedback, and you're going to take action on it. Now once it is restocked, you get a message immediately which says, hey, that action was taken, it has been restocked, and aisle 35, shelf 4 is all restocked, and you're good to go. And again, the content changes. So now we see that we have the same product. It says it pairs well with chips, and you can find those in aisle 2, shelf 4, as well as the content below changed here as well. So it completes the feedback loop of certain action needs to be taken, and when that action is taken, it tells the store manager that the action is complete. This way you get a holistic picture of your store, and which can be customized, and we can build AI models for whichever product you want at scale and deploy it at scale for you. Thanks for watching. Let's get back to the rest of today's webinar.
Thank you for watching that demo. And here are a few things that we've learned throughout our journey in building these AI models, right? So image processing techniques versus training an ML-based model. So when we say image processing, if you're using OpenCV and taking the feed and analyzing the image itself, and then based on the contours, based on certain image processing functions that you take, you're trying to figure out what you have on the shelf or what product you have. Then a few things to keep in mind is lighting conditions. Create a havoc when you're just doing image processing. If you're doing HSV calculations and trying to figure out what color and isolating products, then lighting plays a major role. So controlling that lighting becomes important. The ML-based models are a little more, they can take care of that variation of the lighting a little better than just pure image processing techniques, right? The other thing is when you deploy these models at scale, one thing to keep in mind is how are you going to manage these workloads? How are you going to manage these devices, right? And then be able to change the workloads on it, be able to version these AI models, because it's not one and done. You build a model once, you train it, and you deploy, and then you start to see, get inferences and see accuracy of those models. And then at that point, your products might change in the sense some subtle differences in color or label placement or something might change, right, from the product manufacturer. And so now you have to train the model again. Now, when you train the model again, and this is part of the ML ops, where you, just like DevOps, where you have a nice pipeline of you change code and you test it, and you then want to deploy it in a very automated fashion with the right approval gates in between. It's very similar for that, for ML ops. So you want to be able to train those models and then version it, and now with approval gates in place, you want to deploy those models. How are you going to do that, right? And you should be doing that because building an AI model is not a one and done thing. It needs to evolve so that you get the best ROI out of those models. And then frames per second. Every condition or every use case requires a different ingestion speed. So if it's humans, right, we probably don't need 60 FPS because we really don't move that fast. But if it's on an assembly line or if it's something that's moving faster, you will need that frames per second, which means you need to be able to ingest and you need to be able to process those many frames per second, which then directly impacts what type of an edge hardware you would need. And then we've already spoken about deploying and managing versions of the models, having ML ops. And then the last one is synthetic data. The biggest time-consuming step of building an AI model is actually getting the training data. The first question we ask any of our customers, do you have training data? And if the answer is no, or we've got some of it, then the first step is to let's collect the data, because using that training data, we'll be training the models to build a model that we can then validate and keep that cycle going. Synthetic data is a way of creating those training data sets in a repeatable fashion. So we are not actually going out and taking pictures or having a camera installed. We're taking video feeds and then breaking it down by frames. We spend some time in creating a synthetic data and artificially create that training set using existing pictures, transformations, and then building that product out. And so we can then put variations in it and have it in different angles and different lighting conditions and have that training data set ready. And we can then just keep on changing that data set to get a better training model. So here's some of the lessons learned and tips that we've encountered, and we've solved for those. But it's important to take some of these into account when you're actually building a solution for computer vision. Right. We have one more poll here. which says, where do you believe you could use the most assistance with your computer vision initiatives? Is it identifying where to start and showing ROI, selecting appropriate technology in terms of hardware and then the architecture of it, developing and training models, deploying devices and training your staff to actually use it properly, or managing the solutions once it's deployed? Let's give it a minute, and then we can see how people have responded. All right, I'm going to move ahead and see if people have responded. There you go. It's identifying where to start and showing ROI. It's interesting because ROI is the first conversation we have with our clients to make sure that they've realized that what the ROI is, if any, right? Is this just a POC, where it's someone's enthusiasm where we're like, oh, we should do this because it's interesting, or is there a real ROI? And that's our first conversation to help our customers understand if there is an ROI, and if there is an ROI, how much is it, and what kind of impact it would have on the organization. Because once we have that in place, we can really drive that solution and help them get that ROI. Because if the customer does not realize if there is an ROI or how much that is, it never leaves a POC and it never ends up in production.
Yeah, so I think it actually ties nicely into how do we get started, which is often the conversation that we have first with our clients. Some people have deployed things. I know some clients that are on the call today we've done some work with already, and then some are new. So I'll just quickly go. We have about 10 minutes left, and just give a quick overview for the folks that haven't worked with Untitled Systems Integrator. So we help you end to end. Our team, myself, are on our digital innovation and our professional services team that's focused on cloud expertise, enablement and DevOps, data and AI, intelligent edge, building the modern applications, whether it's updating legacy apps or building net new experiences, as well as training. So a lot of times you put in these new technologies, but you have to train your staff. So there's still a human element of how do you get adoption and make sure people want to use this and know how to use these new solutions. We then also have a connected workforce area that does the deployments, right? Like you're putting cameras and edge equipment and networking into actual physical locations. And we have a whole batch of employees that can go out, boots on the field, go and deploy these solutions. They have the run books, they can bring ladders if needed, and they know how to install it, and we can kind of take care of that. So it's not just doing the leading cutting edge technology that's required, but it's actually getting these installed in facilities, managing it, and also even procuring what's the right hardware for your organization. We'll kind of skip some of the fast facts, but Insight's 11,000 employees plus, and we have 1,500 just in digital innovation with a lot of cloud certifications. We are excited because, in partnership with Microsoft, we were Microsoft's U.S. Partner of the Year in 2020 because of a lot of the cool work that we're helping enable and the business outcomes that we're seeing with clients. We also have partnerships with Databricks on the data and AI side, where we're their SI Partner of the Year. So we do have a broad range of expertise. Intel is obviously inside in a lot of this, the edge hardware. And if you have the right capabilities, you can really do some powerful stuff now as well as into the future. So, what we do, if this is of interest to you and your organization and you're exploring, we often recommend our envisioning workshop for computer vision. And the point of this workshop is to sit down with your leaders of different lines of businesses and identify what are the outcomes that you're looking to improve. And then who's responsible for what is your current infrastructure and setup, what's your preferred technology stack, but really focus on the business outcomes first and work our way through determining, is computer vision the right fit? If so, what type of hardware and software? So in an envisioning workshop, typically 2 to 3 days prior to a workshop, we'll interview the various stakeholders that are identified. We'll bring in some of our market analysis and recommendations, and we'll kind of do the background to say, hey, this is what you're looking to do. This is a good place to get started. And then we'll do a full day workshop together where we kind of have all the parties at the table. We understand what challenges you're facing, what areas you're looking to improve. We'll explore different possibilities with AI to meet your requirements for computer vision, as well as develop like a high-level architecture and a repeatable, for repeatable success. So although Amal kind of took you at a high level through the pieces involved, we'll kind of really look at, what are we working with and how can we map something out to kind of move forward with. And then after the workshop, we'll take a step back. It usually takes another week for us to collect and organize all that data and come back to you with, here's a roadmap and an outcome and an executive readout, typically framed in the now and the next and the later, because oftentimes you have lots of ideas and different stakeholders want to do different things. But we try to prioritize, hey, this is where we should start now. This would be a quick win with some really good ROI. And then we can layer in, once we get the foundation in place, we can kind of roll that out to more locations, or we extend more use cases and prove the value to the stakeholders to kind of build that business case to show, hey, it's working. Let's now go and tackle these use cases. This is how we can expand regionally or to multiple use cases. And then we'll also have what's coming later, right? Like a focus on the future of, we want to get started. We want to show immediate value, but we also want to understand where is your company going and where do you want to get to, so that we put in the right equipment. Oftentimes you might start with something small, but we want to make sure that that equipment that we initially purchase and work to optimize will handle future use cases that would come down. So we're not taking things out and putting new stuff in. We kind of have an eye to get quick wins as well as long-term success. So we'd like to leave you just to kind of close out the webinar. We're hoping that you found value in this high-level overview for computer vision and the components involved. I'll leave you with a little bit of the art of the possible of what you can do, and just to get the ideas going. Encourage you to reach out. We'll follow up offline, but if you have any questions, you can reach us at learnmore@insight.com. And we can follow up and we can bring in specialists to kind of have a more detailed conversation to figure out where it might make sense to get started. And we appreciate your time here today. So we'll play a last minute video, and hopefully it inspires you, and we look forward to doing something together in the future. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
What if there was a smarter way to manage retail? What if you could ensure the right products were always in stock? What if your staff could spend less time on inventory and more time serving customers? What if you could reduce shrinkage and prevent those common mistakes? What if you could provide a better shopping experience? And what if you could do all this by building on your existing infrastructure? With computer vision and the intelligent edge, modern retail organizations are transforming challenges into opportunities. To right-size inventory, drive down costs, keep customers happy, and gain a competitive advantage, all while freeing employees to focus on the work that matters most and empowering leaders to make data-driven decisions faster. So what would you do if you could? See what's possible with Insight.
That concludes today's webinar. Thank you to the presenters and the attendees for your time and the opportunity to meet today. Just a reminder to please fill out the survey. The slides and the presenters' contact information will be available in the on-demand link that you will receive via email.